Hello, Plowman here. This is take 3. The first one, Siri decided to interject thanks to wonderful Apple Watch and me pushing the button on accident. 2 was I wasn't certain if my ears were actually in because the last video I did, they didn't work. Anyways, to resume, or for those of you who don't have a magical way of watching videos that I recorded and then deleted, which is nobody, I'm in Montana still. We are on our way currently to Washington, but first we're checking out the Glacier National Park, which is gonna be amazing. I have to say, Montana is gorgeous. If you haven't been before, definitely do it. I'd suggest doing it a little bit later than what we're doing right now, which is, what month are we in? We're in March. Because right now, the grass is really like dead and tired, like winter's kind of subsiding. And I have to say, being a Cali boy, I'm kind of oddly spoiled in the sense that I don't really understand how seasons work in other parts of the world. Yeah, in California, in case you didn't know, is basically a desert, so there's that. Anyhow, lots of fun driving, beautiful scenery. Montana is amazing. For those of you, on a total sidetrack note, for those of you who are watching this and you're like, we are overpopulated in the world, I challenge you, pretty please, because you probably live in a big city, drive like 3-4 hours out of a city, and you'll see how bunk that argument is, because we're not overpopulated. There's plenty of space. If I remember correctly, and I have to find this, and this is not what I want to talk about today, but if I remember correctly, I believe you can fit the entire population of the world inside of the state of Texas with the density of New York City. So granted, that's pretty dense and not everyone would want to do that. But the entire world could fit inside Texas with the density of New York City. So just to put in perspective, we're not overpopulated. We don't manage our stuff right, and that's a good argument, but we're not overpopulated. You have to also excuse me, I feel like I look super frumpy and I don't know what to do with my hair. I thought I lost my hat, but I actually found it and I was like, well, I'm gonna just do a video without my hat, but whatever. And the lighting's weird and we're trying to make it work and yada yada yada. Okay, so what I want to talk about today, because Friday is for futures, I'm gonna kind of dip into a subject that I already talked about a little bit. But really what I wanted to talk about on the whole was purpose. What is your purpose in this life when you're born to when you die? What do you want to be remembered by? And I like to say to some people, to kind of challenge them, like, what do you want written on your tombstone? And that's a little morbid, and people like myself don't actually want to be buried. I'd rather be cremated and just toss me in the wind. But anyways, the idea stands, hi Bubba's, that what do you want your life to be? What do you want your life accomplishment? What is your purpose here? And some people think that, okay, well, my purpose is already ascribed. Like what I'm going to do with my life is already decided by God or by destiny or whatever. And that's fine for what it is. I personally really don't like it. I say it's fine in that I don't hate on people who have that argument or have that viewpoint. I don't like that viewpoint in general because to me, what that basically gives you is a free pass to do whatever. And you don't have to take any responsibility for any of your actions because it's predetermined. It's just destiny. This is what's going to happen. I have no choice in the matter. It's just me. It's just based on my DNA. It's based on that. Those are other things, other arguments that are like parallel. It's my DNA or my upbringing or this or that. And you can use them for any menagerie of things. Like I could explain my weight because, oh, well, it's just my genetics, you know, or my hair loss. Oh, well, it's just my genetics. And like, there are certain things, my eye color. Oh, it's just my genetic, my face smell, just my genetics. Yeah, there is a good amount of things that are just genetics, and there's very limited stuff that we have available that we can do anything on. That is true. But there's also a bonanza of options and things that you can do, especially stuff with weight. I was just listening to something recently about hair loss. There's a lot of things that you can do that we either have the technology or we have the vitamins or we have the methods that one can actively fight and try and gain control and power and responsibility for. So what this pertains and why it's kind of future-based is going back to the concept of what is it that you want to do with your life. And something I sometimes, because I live in LA, so traffic is always a thing. All right, I used to live like in LA and now I live a little outside of it. But the point is, you're driving down the road and especially like, I don't know, 10, 12 o'clock at night, and there's a bajillion cars on the road. And I used to ask myself just kind of as a joke, like, what are all these people doing? And the more I drove around LA and the more generally curious I got, it's kind of like an unanswerable question. But it is fascinating to look, if you can get a bird's eye view and you look at the world and you're like, what are people doing? We're all doing things. And that's not bad. Doing things is good. Being productive is good. Having a game. Like, I believe people will have any game at all rather than no game. Okay? Generally speaking, people need to have something. And if they don't have something, they will make up something. They will create some problem so that they can do it. And I think that in general, perhaps we as human beings should start having bigger goals and bigger problems. Because as with anything, a good example of this would be if you give someone $10,000 a month and they're used to spending $1,000 a month, what they will do is they will figure out a way to spend that other $9,000. They will spend that $10,000 that you gave them every month. Even though they were perfectly happy with $1,000, they will now be miserable with 10. I'm joking on the miserable part, but similarly, if you look at somebody like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, and you're like, oh, well, they have all the money, they can do whatever they want. And yeah, money does help. But they also have the same problems that money also gives them. They have bigger problems. Like if I put you in Elon Musk's job right now, you would be like, what the heck am I supposed to do? I have no idea, right? And that's true with like the president or whoever. And this is why we do things on a gradient scale. And I'm kind of going roundabout here, but the point is I think every person should challenge themselves. If they think, okay, if you think, I'm good with this kind of problem, I'm good with this, I'm happy with this, you should push yourself a little bit more. Because you can do more. You can do more. And I bet you that if you push yourself a little bit more to do a little bit more, once you do that, you'll be like, oh, wow, I did that. And then you push yourself a little bit more and you push yourself a little bit more. And not just on your body and not just on your family and not just on your community, but like really start thinking whole term. And sometimes people just do this in one department. You get a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm going to go save the trees or the whales or whatever. And that's not a bad thing. But also keep in mind, it's like circles. There's you, family, so on and so forth. So to kind of loop it back, you are the most important thing. What is it that you're going to do with your life? What do you want your effect to be? If it is travel the world, good. Do you want to be remembered? Like, what effect do you want to do? Because if you ascribe to, oh, you live only one life and that's it. Okay, do you want to leave an impact or you just want to be like, cool, I travel the world, ta-da. Like, what's the point of traveling the world if you only live only once? And then reversely, like if you don't travel at all and you just at home on your computer, what's the point of just being at home on your computer if you only live once? And I'm not trying to get into that necessarily once or many lives or any of that, but really, what do you want to do with your life? Now, I think I already told you this story, and it bears repeating again because I thought of it, and it was kind of the impetus and the inspiration behind this particular today's thing, which is, the short version of it is, Short story, this lady, she leaves a Fortune 500 company, and she effectively creates this mini like dome habitat that is like a faux fake world, like a simulated world. So it's kind of like a video game, but not a video game. But think of it like a video game, but it's a whole planetoid. And she tried and tried and tried to have humanoid type stuff, but they kept like killing themselves and ruining the experiment. Because the point was, we're gonna have, as like a video game where you can fast forward, we're gonna have all the mathematics and a simulation of a real planet with real humans, and then we're gonna fast forward and see how they solve particular problems. Anyways, none of that really matters. They instead came up with this like lizard type of people, fine. And what she did is she kept throwing problems at the lizard type people on this planet. And what was interesting is they'd have a problem like a plague, right? Where it killed, I don't know, 2/3 of their population. And they're thinking that the gods are punishing them. They don't know. But what they did do is they banded together, despite how shitty it was, and came up with a solution and cured their ailment. Good. And then it was something else where there was like flooding. And then they overcame that. And then there was something else. And then there was something else. And the point was, you know, they're trying to do this, and you also get this other story. And you find out, well, what she was trying to do was create problems that we as humans would have, and then have this other entity, this computer, basically solve the problem so that she could then copy their homework, steal their homework, and have a laundry list of, hey, if this happens, then this is what we should do. If this happens, this is what we should do. I think also another one was global warming. Another one was pollution. Another one was, you know, stuff like that. And effectively what happened is she finally was like, oh, I didn't even think about this. What if an asteroid comes, right? So, a mini asteroid comes and destroys a bunch of stuff. And then they start looking up and they're like, oh my gosh, there's a bigger asteroid. And so they do this whole prep, and she goes and has a sandwich or something like that. And meanwhile, this thing's going, a year a minute type of thing. It's a drastic time difference, okay? And when she comes back, there's a full-size alien in her living room. And she's like, what the heck? And I'm ruining the story for you, and I apologize. And effectively, this lizard alien dude was just like, we realized that we were living in a dome. But we know that you're not the person in charge, this lady who's running their little universe. So I'm going to go to the person in charge. To me, what that communicated and what it kind of subtly said is very similar to, but different than, what the Matrix hinted at, which is we're kind of just living in this thing and we're doing our lives. And if humans are just left to our own devices, we will constantly push, there's always going to be people who want a flatter TV or a nicer room or convenience, okay? Because we want to survive, and we want to survive easily, okay? So you're always going to have that push for convenience, and you're also going to get other cool things as well. But none of it really matters if you don't know what the point is, okay? If you just create something to make it better, just to have it better, why? Now, if you want more time, if the idea is, I want this to be convenience and streamlined, so I have more time to do this. And this other thing, this B thing, is of vast importance, and it'll get you to C. And then you're up in C, and then you go up to D, and then, and even that's great, that's progression, but progression towards what? And I feel like, and I've probably said it several times on this channel already, that we as a human race and you as an individual need to really think with what is the ideal scene for humanity in general, okay? And some people are like, oh, well, it's just laziness. Ultimate laziness would be, how nice would it be if I just got paid to do nothing, okay? Where I could just sit at home and I could play video games or sit at home with my lady and my dogs, and there was food, water, clothing, anything I could basically want. All the basics of life were there. I didn't have to worry about anything. Okay, the only problem with that is, and you can look it up, But people end up getting bored. They end up becoming drunkards, alcoholics, drug addicts, other stuff. And there is a very small segment of the population that will actually do something productive. But like we said close in the beginning, people have to do something. They have to have a game. And going to work and making money and paying rent is a game, okay? It is a game. Play Monopoly. You'll understand. It's kind of the same thing. Play Cash Flow is a better example. So if you take that away from someone, they're not going to be very happy with you. They might seem like they're happy, but they're going to have some game. So they will replace it with something else. So ultimately, what I'm trying to say is, I think it's not a bad idea to make things more convenient and streamlined. I don't think that's inherently bad. But what is bad is if in the process of doing that, you are taking away jobs and taking away responsibility and people's need to be involved in society, and there's nothing else there, because humankind is just focused on streamline and convenience and entertainment and yada, yada, yada. But there's no purpose. There's no purpose. And you can love it or hate it. Religion has many good and many bad things, historically and in real time. But in a small way, one could make an argument that religion is just a really big game, okay? Certain religions is like, if you do this and this and this, great, you can go to heaven, which is kind of like an achievement. Hey, I got there, I accomplished that. And if you don't do those things and it's very difficult to stay on that, then you can go to hell, and so on and so forth. I'm not really trying to knock religion at all. I'm just saying, in a way, it is a game. So realize, again, in this whole thing, really to synchronize it, is purpose. What is your purpose in life? What is your fellow man's purpose in life? This doesn't mean you need to go around and criticize people. If you think you have your purpose, then great. Help other people figure out what their purpose is. Be nice, be kind to each other. Realize that we're all starting at different places. We all have different experiences and different realities. And this isn't a make wrong. This is a, hey, I know I have a purpose, okay? My purpose is to leave the world, the entire world, significantly better than when I started, when I came in. Which is weird and huge, and it's like, well, why? Like, why do you think the world needs to solve, why do I think I can solve all the world's problems? And I can't. And maybe it's just silly. Maybe I'm silly and I just died today, and my involvement with people is enough to accomplish that. But it isn't enough for me. Like, it isn't enough to just like, oh, somebody's happier today and maybe happier for the rest of their life because I interacted with them. No, I want to leave a lasting mark. I don't want statues and things like that. I just want to leave the world significantly better than, and maybe that's too vague. Maybe I should probably work on something a little bit more specific. And not to give up everything, but I have other specific avenues of how I'm trying to do it and how I'm trying to leave my mark. So there is that. But I found time and time again that older people and younger people, both and everyone in between, seem to be lacking any real purpose in their life. They kind of just like, yeah, have kids and whatever and, do stuff. And all right, now that that's done, I guess now that the kids are in college, I guess I'll pick up golf or something like that. And it's just like, well, I mean, golf's fun. There's nothing wrong with golf, but like, if there's no point to what you're doing, then why do it? And I understand we need to have something to do, so I get that. But like, if you have something you want to do, then do that. And then it's totally cool to be like, cool, I'm jamming at this, and then I'm going to take a break and I'm going to vacation. Because if I vacation and I vacation hard, then I got that. And then bam, I can focus even more. See, that makes sense to me. But if it's just like, oh, vacation to vacation, or yeah, I'm just going to eat, I'm just going to eat ice cream every day because I want to. Or you get some people who, gotta admire them, but they're gym rats. They go to the gym all the time, every time. And it's just because they want to look good. And that's great. You do look good, but like, to what end? To what purpose? Like, I get looking good, and that's good. And I definitely want to look better myself, so I'm not knocking it. But every person, I feel like if you go back to it, the core of it, what is your purpose in life? What do you want to be remembered by? What do you want to have accomplished in your time here? Anyways, that's it for today. I didn't mean to get too serious about it, but I do want to know your opinion. So please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Thank you very much. Bye.